Hello guys, this is a review of one of my favorite movies of all time, Suicide Room. Suicide Room is a Polish film, so if anyone from Poland is watching, hey there. Let's get started with the plot first. This is such a unique film, so incredible, like I said, one of my favorites. Let's get started with the plot and then we'll get into everything else afterwards, or in between, like we'll see how it goes. Suicide Room follows the story of Dominic. Dominic is an 18-year-old who seems to have it all figured out, at least on the surface. And this is very different to most of the films within the same subgenre, where the main character is a huge misfit. He just is lonesome and in a depressive state of mind. That doesn't seem to be the case in this one, like I said, at least on the surface. He is the son of two very wealthy and successful people. His mother is a fashion designer or promoter, and his dad is a high-ranked politician. He is on the verge of graduating. All he needs is to take his final exams, as they call them in the States. There they call it his matura, or something like that. That means mature. And he's going to prom. That's basically where the film picks up. And I have a lot of questions, so if you have already watched it and you know the answers to these, or you have your own opinion, please let me know. Because Dominic is crushing on this guy right here, named Aleks. By the way, we're gonna deal with very heavy issues, so viewers' discretion is heavily advised. Even though this is a movie that I support 100%, it's awesome and everything, but it does deal with heavy topics. He likes him, Aleks, but this Aleks guy kind of bullies him. There's a scene where he's describing some of the things in Hamlet, the play that Shakespeare wrote, and he's making kissing sounds in the background, and there's this girl's like telling to stop it. So to me it seems like he's doing it in a mocking way. He's making fun of Dominic, insinuating that he's gay. So I don't see how that love could develop, you know, from somebody with an ego like Dominic, which we'll get to later. He is quite conceited, like I said, very different to most of the other kids in similar movies. There's a scene where the driver is taking him to his mother's workplace, and he tells him to turn the music down because he doesn't like techno music. This is Dominic speaking, by the way. And the driver turns it down, and he says, "More, please." Turns it down again, more, until there's literally no sound coming out. It's just mute. He's like, "Thank you." So he has a very sarcastic, very mean attitude. You know, he's very egocentric, and he feels like he acts as if the world revolves around him and everybody owes him something, which is very displeasing, but that's the way that he is at the beginning. There's a scene where he's talking, and I had to mention, I know it's probably like, why is he talking about all these minor details? It's because to me they're quite important, and I can't go over 30 minutes or else the video will cut off, but I'll try to make it as brief as possible. I have a timer right next to me so that I don't have to keep looking at the watch. There's a scene where he's at school, and his friends, which are mostly girls, I don't want to get into stereotypes, but that's kind of an indicative that he's gay, and that he is being bullied by these guys, but they don't say for certain if that's the case or not. Because he goes over, they're using his laptop, ostensibly, and they're looking at a video of somebody cutting themselves. And it's in a chat group, a room called Suicide Room. And they're like, "Oh, that's nasty," and everything. He takes it back. And then Aleks goes up to him, he's like, "Hey, Prince," or something like that. And just goes, he's like, "Come on, leave me alone." But like I said, I just don't understand their relationship. Anyway, that's Dominic's first exposure to that group. They go to prom. That's why he went to his mother's workplace to pick up his suit that he was gonna wear for the prom dance. and the kids are left alone, and this girl, friends of everybody, is telling them about a story, well, about a time in her life where she made out with a girl and like she went all the way, and Aleks is like, well, to another girl, prove that you've done the same, prove that you've also like had a lesbian experience by kissing her right now in front of everybody. And the girl's like, well, I'll do that, but you in exchange have to kiss Dominic. And that's where it all starts. But I bet you're not expecting this. This is them right there during prom. After the girls kiss, they honor their word and they kiss themselves. And they're filming it. And you'd expect, okay, that's where everything goes downhill. No, it picks up from here, but it doesn't go downhill from here. It's the fact that he's gay is not ill received by everybody. Ironically, like, they get a lot of positive attention. It goes viral on Facebook and everybody's talking about them, and he's liking it, he's smiling every time he sees videos and posts about that night. However, and this is where it gets good. Well, bad for them, but good for like the viewer. They're in judo practice, and Aleks is teamed up against, well, not teamed up. He's put against Dominic. He drops him to the floor several times before pinning him and maintaining top position. I know a little bit about judo because of Ronda Rousey. Anyway, he's putting all that pressure on Dominic, right? He's obviously more on an amateur level in comparison to him because he cannot do anything. He's just there struggling. He's getting angry, but at the same time liking it because he eventually ejaculates. And Aleks notices the orgasm, or at least the reaction up until then he notices the evidence, so he laughs at him. Then Dominic rushes back to the locker room and calls the driver, and the driver's like, hey, we have a schedule. I'm not supposed to be there until an hour, so I can't get there now. It's like impossible. I'm on the other side of town. And he says, you're gonna come right now. He just has his fit. He throws the phone, and since he does all of that, he says, I'm just going to go home by myself. He takes public transportation, and it appears to be a bus. While in the bus, these guys are listening to music, techno music, and he goes over and tells them to turn it down. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. I just go sit down. And he goes over again, tries to force them to turn it down, so they beat him up, and he goes home. And his parents, instead of speaking to him about what had happened and the way that he handled the situation with the driver, what he told the driver, or trying to get to the bottom of everything, they're already planning on suing the driver. They're like, how irresponsible of him, we're paying him and he's taking public transportation and, you know, running risks. I think it's safe to say that Dominic is being treated like a 10-year-old when he's already 18. He's bubble wrapped and just, in my opinion, he's suffocating because he's getting a lot of things that he doesn't need at the moment. You're supposed to progress during the developmental stages of your life. One day you need somebody to wipe your butt and the next day you don't, you know, and you're supposed to go like that. And his parents, they think that they're there for him, that they've given him everything, but they've given him an excess of what he no longer needs. You know what I'm saying? And he's there then, obviously, because of what had happened. Because of what happened during the judo practice, he tells him that he's not feeling well, so he doesn't go to school the next day. And he does log into the suicide room. He starts chatting with somebody named Sylvia. This is another question that I have. In the subtitles, obviously I got the Region 1 DVD, and they spell Sylvia's name as Sylwia instead of with the V. And in English it's pronounced Sylvia, and it sounds like they're pronouncing Sylvia in the movie as well, but why did they put a W? I don't know. If you know the answer, please let me know. Anyway, that's besides the point. She invites him over to this virtual world, this online game thing where people meet up. It's described in some reviews that I've read as like a World of Warcraft, but it's not so much a battle and adventure type of thing. It's more of a social way. Not a social way. It's more of a place to socialize, a place to understand each other, listen to each other, and just have people with the same outlook on life and to share your thoughts. But you could battle and you could like create things and stuff. So it's so beautiful. Let me just talk a little bit about that. This is the avatar that he creates. This is Sylvia's avatar. It's such a beautiful place. It has natural beaches and desert-like landscapes, but it also has like the good part of our industrialized world, which are cities and lights, artificial lights. Everything is just so beautiful. I could get lost in that world for ages. At one point, Dominic, I believe he creates, or he finds this tree that looks like it's burning in flames, like this ambrosia, orangey, yellowish, glowishy look, and it's beautiful. In the ocean, I can't get lost. I have to get back to the plot. So he realizes that Dominic, that Aleks shared what happened at the judo place with everybody, so now they're making videos about it and everybody's laughing at him, and he cannot handle that. He just can't. He starts having a rage, which I identify with a lot. Like, my teenage years were not good teenage years, and I understand his emotion, even though we didn't go to the same extents. But it's just so relatable. Anybody who had a difficult time growing up will definitely relate and identify with Dominic. So after that, the days go by and he seems to be more engulfed in this world, this cyber world, because of the cyberbullying, as we call it nowadays, that he's experiencing. So he finds shelter, he finds refuge in this place, and these people listen to him. He actually has to prove his worth by defeating one of the players there, because they don't want him. Sylvia, even though she invited him in there, she's like the queen, she's the leader, so she demands respect, and not anybody could just walk in there and be part of their group, which is ironic because they're like complaining about it, but still. Their parents like to attend opera shows, and they force Dominic to go. He tells Sylvia, hey, I have to go, and Sylvia's like, you don't have to do anything, look at the ocean. Isn't it beautiful? It's like, yeah, well, it doesn't have to do anything. It just is. Does whatever it wants. Doesn't need anybody. You don't need your parents. You don't need loved ones. You just need yourself. But he doesn't quite listen to it at first, Dominic, so he goes over to the opera show. And his parents are there conversing with some friends that have a daughter the same age as Dominic. And they're like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to listen to old people talk. Like, why don't you, hang out with each other and have a good time as young people would? He's like, you know what? I would do that, Dominic's saying, but I'm gay, so. And his parents are taken aback. They're like, ha, good one. They're trying to play it off nice because they don't know anything about it. And he's like, no, I would like to go out with her, but I prefer boys. And they're still like, oh, you almost got us this time. They just are in extreme denial, and they're in front of these very important people, so they don't want to cause a scene. He goes over, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Dominic walks over to the Greek statue and starts making out with it. It's not just like a kiss. It's full makeout session in front of everybody. So they go back and they're really mad at him. They're like, hey, you're gonna go to school the next day and everything. Like, I can't believe you said that. Is this a fad? Is being gay like a fad? Are you gonna wear makeup now? He's just mocking them and like making fun of the whole situation, until like they tell him, hey, tomorrow you're gonna go to school. They yell at him, and you could tell that he's kind of like and he tells that to Sylvia, and she's like, you have to scare them. This world is polluted. Because they have this conversation where Sylvia's always like, I want to die, and Dominic's like, I want to live. Why do you want to die? It's like, why do you want to live? Why? No, she asks him, why don't you want to kill yourself? And he's like, so I could live. And she responds with, and I want to kill myself because I want to die. And that's this like contrast that they're having. So she lets him know that it's not about him, it's not his problem. He's sensitive the way that she is and that everybody there is. So what he needs to do is build this protective shield, this scary look, so that everybody's intimidated and they don't mess with him and they don't get to him. He can't be weak, suave as they pronounce it. And he goes over, gets his dad's gun, he changes his style, he wears eyeliner, and he goes there. He does seem to like scare them off pretty well. It's pretty cool scenes. One of the little, just a minor detail, his fashion statement, part of his whole look is to unbutton his pants, which I read on YouTube because this is what I do when I watch a movie, see what other people think. Like, you know, that's why I do this. And they were complaining about the unbuttoning of his pants. I was like, you know, I'm with you guys, you know. I would have preferred that he didn't, but at the same time, you have to understand that he's doing it to make them realize that he's peculiar and not just like, oh, the weirdo, but the dangerous weirdo. Like, you do not come near me because I am brave enough to be myself, to be different than you are, so I could hurt you. That happens, right? And then he's talking to Sylvia afterwards, and just they're congratulating each other, like, oh, you were right. I was like, you got them. Yeah, I got them. And he tells her that he wants to meet up with her. She's like, that's not gonna happen. I haven't been on in like 3 years. He's like, what? That's not possible. And she tells him, no, it is possible. You could do it as well. So he stays in his room for like 10 days. And his parents do not even notice. Because like I said, they give him a whole bunch of this and that, but not what's most important and what an adolescent needs. Which is somebody that listens to him, that tries at least to understand what he's going through. One of the workers in the house calls the cops. They go in there, and he's when they break through the door, they find him cutting himself. So they take him to the emergency room, I assume, but he ends up like in a mental hospital, or maybe they just stuck him there because of the suicide. I'm not really sure, but that's besides the point. The thing is, their parents walk in, and they're very cocky and arrogant, and they feel like they are superior to everybody there. And they're like, we're gonna take our son. Like, we don't want him to be around these crazy people. We're gonna take him to a private facility. And the doctor's like, well, he is, you know, an adult, so it's up to him. And he asks Dominic, and Dominic's like, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to them. And that's when they realize, oh, things are bad. So he stays there during, not during, but for 3 days straight for full supervision, I believe. And when he comes out, they're at a restaurant, and they're trying to talk to each other. And this film has so many subtle cues just injected into the story. For example, while they're talking, or the parents are trying to get him to talk, the mom is wearing like a beanie or something like that, covering up, and his dad is complaining that Dominic is not answering, that he's not paying attention to what he's saying. So he takes his wife's, I should say, hat and throws it at Dominic, and she rushes to get it and covers herself up, which gives you the idea that for her it's more important to keep a low profile, to not be seen, to be hidden, because she doesn't want like anybody to know that they have problems. And, you know, instead of worrying about the main issue, which is trying to relate to your son, to understand what just happened and to accept it, because they don't accept it at first. It's crazy because he's just tearing up, and she suggests, maybe you should go on vacation. No, I can't. Like, right after, 1.5 seconds after, he falls into this even deeper depressive state. So they call a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is trying to get to the bottom of everything, doing things right, asking them, okay, do you have dangerous things here that he could use to harm himself? They're like, well, we're not really sure that he even wanted to do it. And he asks them, does he have a girlfriend or boyfriend? And they're like, oh, he likes to keep to himself mostly. So they're just in denial about everything. They're not accepting responsibility. I know that they're not completely responsible. He is an adult, but at the same time, his upbringing and everything just comes together to form this bowl of chaos that just swallowed him whole. And they're not even trying to like do anything about it. They're just trying to, like I said, to keep their image. It's very disgusting, but the days go by, and I never do films justice with my explanations, just so much better than what I'm saying. And I realize that we're almost near the end, so let me try and speed things up. At one point, Sylvia and the rest of the people in the group, except for Dominic, decide that they want to end it all now, that they're ready to commit suicide for real. And they give Dominic the task of getting pills so that Sylvia could commit suicide. And she threatens him too. At first he's like, no, give me something else. And she says no. And if you don't do this, you're never going to see me again. Which I find very strange. Even ironic. Because if he gets the pills and gives them to her and she commits suicide, he's still not going to see her ever again. Because she's going to be dead, you know? And they develop this is another question that I have real quick, how to get it out of the way. There's a very beautiful love scene underwater with their avatars mixed with real people, even though they're not there. It's just more of like their mind, just giving us a visual of what it's like in their hearts, I guess. And I do believe that he loves her, just not in a sexual way. I think it's more intellectual way, psychological way. They just match in different ways, or maybe he's just bi, but I don't know that. At the end, he gives in to peer pressure and the threats from everybody there. So Dominic is talking to the second psychiatrist, which is a psychiatrist that does not care one bit about him. She doesn't even like want to know what he's going through. She doesn't diagnose him. She's just there like writing the prescription because the parents, that's what they wanted. And when the parents catch on to that, by the way, he ends up getting the pills. And the parents are catching on that, you know, the mom asks her a very funny question. I know I should speed it up, but this is very funny. She's telling her, like, what could we do as parents for him so that he could be okay? And she's like, well, listen. He's just writing the prescription. It's like, wait, listen to me. The mom's like, what would you do as a mother? And the psychiatrist is just like, I don't know. So, you know, it's so insane that sometimes you hire these type of people to work with you or for you, and they just do a huge disservice to you. They damage you even further. But this is another thing that I don't understand, and we're getting to the final thing, I promise. Dominic, like I said, manages to get the pills. And the last conversation that they had via video chat with Sylvia, she tells him, I'm going to be at a club until midnight. If you don't take the pills, you'll never hear from me again. You'll never see me again. But they don't specify which club, so I feel like that's why he never finds her. Because at that point, before the conversation ends, his father disconnects the Wi-Fi router, so he loses connection, and he has this big humongous tantrum. But at the end they kind of like they don't resolve anything. He kind of pretends that he's gonna be good and to just please connect it. They talk to each other. Another thing that I don't understand is they experience a very humiliating moment at the opera show, the parents, and they come back at nighttime, but they talk to Dominic during the morning. And Sylvia had said that they were going to meet that night. So either they came out like at dawn, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. That's why it was still dark. And they still had the remainder of the day until the deadline that Sylvia gave to Dominic. I don't understand that. If you watch this movie, you know what I'm talking about. I hope. Because I have a lot of questions about this that I have not been able to find. though I have not done a very deep research. I like to keep things organic. So his parents decide not to connect the Wi-Fi again for him. And let me just stop the timer. I hope I don't go over. And Dominic, realizing that they're not going to connect the internet again, he sneaks out very late at night, stuffs the pills in his pants, hides them from the security guard outside of the bar club, and he goes to the bartender, asks for a girl with pink hair. He serves them a drink instead, and he goes over to the bathroom when he realizes that they're just not there, or the restroom I should say, and starts getting rid of the pills. But at one point he holds one in his hand and just swallows it, then swallows more and more and more and drinks it with a bit of alcohol. And he finds a couple in the restroom as well that they're making out, and so he starts videotaping. I think he talks in Spanish. This is a fun fact. It sounds a lot like Spanish. I speak Spanish fluently, so maybe Polish is very similar to Spanish, or I don't know. They even say porn in Spanish, like porno, and they record each other. They're just having fun. Nothing's really happening. But that's when he dies of an accidental overdose. And weeks pass. The parents, it is implied that they get a divorce because the mom is with another guy at the opera show, and the father's alone just staring at her. And the mom decides to go to the suicide room to log in and let the kids know that Dominic committed suicide. Or died by suicide, I should say. One by one they leave the chat, and Sylvia is the last one listening to the mom, thanking them for being there for her son. And for the first time in years, Sylvia just goes out into the real world, in front of the buildings. She, like, where the birds are chirping and everything, and cries. This gut-wrenching cry. It's just so terrible. And then after that is the final scene where they cut back, like they give us a flashback of how he died. He's crying for his mom. He's like, "Mama," and he's crying like, "Help, please, call my parents, help." But they think like it's just a show. He's trying to vomit, but he cannot get himself to throw up, so he dies there and then they publish it on the internet. It's like, "Rest in peace." Like, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate, and that's how it ends. This movie is associated with the Trevor Project, which is an organization for the LGBTQ community. So if you're interested in that, you should really check it out. For anybody thinking that similar things to Dominic, that this world doesn't deserve you, maybe so. Sometimes it is difficult, but if you could hang on, because we often think that and let me check the time first to see if I could give my final thoughts, because I don't want this to cut off. Give me just 1 second, if I could just find it. I think I have time. Yeah, a lot of people think that because their group of people is what we now like to refer to as toxic or damaging, if your community, if your school, if your friends, if your parents, if your sisters, if your cousins, whatever, if they are harming you, don't fall into this idea, this notion that the world is bad and the world is evil and everybody's after to get you, because that's not the way things are. There are people like yourself that understand what you're going through and that would not purposefully harm you. You just have to wait and look for them. Just live life. You don't even have to go looking, like literally, but eventually you'll find soulmates. You just, like I said, if you could hang on, because there's more to life than what meets the eye. There's more past the horizon. We can't just fall into this narrow view of the world based on the very unpleasant experiences that we've had in life so far, especially, you know, if you're at that age, adolescent, if you're a kid, if you're any age, but especially when you're young, you have not yet had the opportunity to meet people outside of that nasty bubble. You have people you trust, and if you don't worry, you got yourself. Love yourself, and you don't need anybody to love yourself. But it doesn't hurt to meet other people with similar outlooks on life. That's my little message. The movie, amazing. I obviously give it a rating of 10 out of 10. Amazing movie. The visuals, I was not expecting this. I picked it up expecting something completely different, and what I got, even though it differed from my original view of the movie, it was even better. It met my expectations and just topped the bar all over. Beautiful. Almost, I would say, like half of the movie takes place in this cyber world that I had never seen before, at least not with this quality. So it's amazing. Everything, the acting is amazing. I do not have enough time. I wish I had more time to get more into detail about this, but I can't. I hope it didn't cut off already. But yeah, I highly recommend it. Like I said, 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching.